Hello, everyone. My name is Patricia Ann Holloway. Most people call me Patty. I am from Roanoke, Virginia, a small city nestled right in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and I am 30 years old. I want to start by telling you something about the man this story is really about, because before anything else, before the drama, before the conflict, before all of it, there is my grandfather, and he deserves to be introduced properly. His name is Roosevelt James Holloway. Everybody calls him Papa Roy. He is 67 years old. He is 5 feet 11 inches tall, still stands straight as a board, and has the kind of handshake that makes you feel like everything is going to be okay just from the grip of it. Papa Roy worked as an electrician for 38 years. He raised 3 children. He was married to my grandmother, Dorothy May Holloway, for 41 years before she passed away from a stroke 2 years ago. He coached Little League. He served as a deacon at his church for 20 years. He fixed things for neighbors who couldn't afford to hire anybody. He showed up. For everybody. Always. He is one of the best human beings I have ever known in my life. And about a year after we lost my grandmother, someone came into his life and tried to take advantage of every good thing about him. This is that story. I am going to take my time with it. I want you to understand every piece of it clearly. So get comfortable and let's begin. Losing my grandmother was one of the hardest things our family has ever been through. She and Papa Roy were a unit. That is the only word for it. 41 years of marriage. They finished each other's sentences. They bickered about small things and agreed on everything that mattered. He called her his North Star. After she passed, Papa Roy grieved quietly. That is his way. He is not a man who falls apart in public. He kept going to church. He kept his yard neat. He still showed up for Sunday dinners with the family. But you could see it in him. That specific kind of quiet that settles into a person when the person they built their whole life around is suddenly gone. We worried about him. Naturally. My mother, his daughter, called him every single day. My Uncle Gerald stopped by the house at least twice a week. I visited as often as I could. We did not pressure him about anything. We just made sure he knew he was not alone. For the first year, he seemed to be finding his footing slowly but surely. He picked up woodworking again, something he had not done in years. He started going to a grief support group at the church. He seemed not happy exactly, but stable. Moving forward the way a person does when they are doing the work of healing properly. And then, about 14 months after Grandma Dorothy passed, he mentioned at Sunday dinner that he had met someone. Her name was Crystal Deneen Parks. She was 38 years old. Papa Roy was 66 at the time, so there was a 28-year difference between them. Now I want to be fair here. I want to be genuinely fair, because age differences in relationships are not automatically a problem. Adults have the right to love who they love, and the last thing any of us wanted was to be the kind of family that made Papa Roy feel judged or controlled for moving forward with his life. So when he told us about Crystal, we were careful. We were warm. We said we were happy he had met someone and we would love to meet her when he was ready. He brought her to Sunday dinner about 3 weeks later. She was attractive, well-dressed, polite in that very deliberate way. The kind of polite that feels slightly rehearsed, where every response is just a little too smooth. She complimented everything: the food, the house, the family photos on the wall. She held Papa Roy's hand across the dinner table and looked at him with a kind of intense attention that seemed, I'm trying to find the right word, performed. Like she was very aware of being watched. But I told myself I was being unfair. I told myself I was projecting. I told myself that not everybody who is polite is being fake. Sometimes people are just nervous meeting a big family for the first time. So I smiled. I made conversation. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. That lasted about 6 weeks. Here is what happened over the next several months. I am going to walk you through it carefully, because I want you to understand how these things unfold. It is never one big dramatic moment. It is always small steps, one at a time. Step 1. Crystal started coming to Sunday dinners every week. Fine. Normal. We welcomed her. Step 2. Papa Roy mentioned she had been having some trouble with her apartment situation. Her lease was ending and she was looking for a new place. He seemed concerned about her. He is a man who takes care of people. It is simply who he is. Step 3. About 4 months into their relationship, she moved into his house. Now that gave our family pause. 4 months is not a long time. And Papa Roy's house was his home. His and Dorothy's home. The home where they raised their children and celebrated holidays for decades. My mother spoke to him privately, gently. She said she just wanted to make sure he was comfortable with the decision and had not felt pressured into anything. Papa Roy said Crystal needed help, and he cared about her, and it was his house and his choice. We respected that, because it was true. It was his house and his choice. But we watched. And what we watched over the next several months made us more and more uneasy. I want you to picture Papa Roy the way he was before Crystal moved in. A man who called me every Sunday morning just to chat. A man who never missed a family dinner. A man whose door was always open, literally and figuratively, to anyone who needed him. Now I want to tell you what changed. The Sunday morning phone calls became shorter, then less frequent. When I asked him about it, he said he had just been busy. Papa Roy had never been too busy to call me on a Sunday morning in 30 years. He started missing family dinners. Not every week at first, just occasionally, then more regularly. The reason was always something vague. Crystal wasn't feeling well. They had plans. He was tired. My Uncle Gerald stopped by the house one Tuesday afternoon the way he always did. He told us later that Crystal answered the door. She was very pleasant. She told him Papa Roy was resting, and she would let him know Gerald had stopped by. She did not invite him in. Papa Roy called Gerald back 2 days later. Said he had been tired that day. Said Crystal had not wanted to disturb him. My mother asked Papa Roy directly, "Are you happy? Is everything okay?" He said yes. He said Crystal was good to him. He said she took care of him. But when my mother asked if she could come over for lunch that week, just the two of them, the way they had always done, Papa Roy paused in a way he never used to pause before answering a simple question from his own daughter. Then he said he would have to check with Crystal. My mother called me that night, and she did not even have to say anything. I could hear it in her voice. Something was wrong. About 8 months after Crystal moved in, my Uncle Gerald got a call from someone he knew at the bank, someone who had known our family for years. Now this person was careful about what they said. They understood privacy. But they said enough. They said there had been some unusual activity on Papa Roy's accounts. They said it might be worth the family having a conversation with him. We did not panic. We sat down together, my mother, Uncle Gerald, and me, and we talked about how to approach it carefully without making Papa Roy feel like we were attacking him or treating him like he was not capable of managing his own affairs. We decided my mother would talk to him, one-on-one, lovingly and calmly. She went to the house on a Saturday morning. Crystal was home. She stayed in the other room, but my mother said she could feel her presence the whole time, could hear her moving around, knew she was listening. Mama asked Papa Roy gently how things were going financially. Said she just wanted to make sure everything was okay, and that he had everything he needed. Papa Roy got a little defensive, said he was fine, said he was a grown man who had been managing his own money for 40 years. Mama said she knew that, said she just loved him. And then she asked, had he lent Crystal any money? A pause. Yes, he had, a few times. She had some debts from before they met. He had helped her out. He said it was not a big deal. Mama asked how much. Papa Roy looked toward the hallway where Crystal was. Then he said, it was between him and Crystal, and he would rather not discuss it. My mother drove home and called me, and I could hear she had been crying. We needed to know what we were dealing with. So we did some research. Now I want to be clear. We were not trying to dig up dirt on someone unfairly. We were trying to protect our grandfather. There is a difference. And I believe that difference matters. What we found was not illegal information. It was simply public information that anybody could look up if they knew where to look. Crystal had been married before. Twice. Both marriages had ended badly. Not just in divorce, but in legal disputes involving finances. One of her former husbands had filed a civil claim against her related to money she had taken from a joint account. She had also moved frequently over the past 10 years, never staying in one place very long. We also talked, carefully and privately, to a woman at Papa Roy's church who had been friends with him and Grandma Dorothy for 30 years. This woman told us that Crystal had made comments to several people at the church. Comments suggesting that Papa Roy had been lonely and lost since Dorothy passed. Comments that seemed designed to position herself as his essential caregiver. Comments that, in this woman's opinion, were not the words of someone who was simply in love. They were the words of someone who was building a case. We arranged a family meeting. Me, my mother, Uncle Gerald, and my Aunt Susan. We asked Papa Roy to come to my mother's house for dinner. Just family, no Crystal. Getting him there without Crystal was itself a challenge. He said he would need to let her know. He said she might want to come. My mother said, "Papa Roy, I just want some time with my daddy. Just us." He came. We had dinner first. We kept things light and warm. We wanted him to feel loved before anything else, because he needed to know that everything we were about to say was coming from love and nothing else. After dinner, my mother spoke first. She told him we were worried. She told him we had noticed changes. She went through them gently. The missed calls, the missed dinners, the door Uncle Gerald had been turned away from, the conversation about money. She said, "Papa Roy, we are not here to tell you who to love. That is not our place. But we are here to tell you that we see you, and we love you, and something feels wrong." Papa Roy was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I know you mean well, but you don't know Crystal the way I do." Uncle Gerald leaned forward and said, "Then help us know her, Roy. Because right now all we see is that our family is being pushed out of your life 1 inch at a time." Papa Roy looked down at his hands. I said, "Papa Roy, do you remember what you always told me when I was little? You said, 'Patty, pay attention to how people treat the people who can't do anything for them. That's who they really are.'" He looked up at me. I said, "How does Crystal treat the people who can't do anything for her?" The room was very quiet. Papa Roy went home that night, and I did not know what he was going to do with what we had said. For about a week, things seemed the same. He did not call more, did not reach out. I started to worry that we had pushed too hard and pushed him further away. And then on a Thursday evening, he called me. He said, "Patty, can you come over tomorrow morning? Early, before she is up." I said yes before he finished the sentence. I got there at 7 in the morning. Crystal's car was there, but the house was quiet. Papa Roy met me on the front porch with 2 cups of coffee, and we sat in the rocking chairs. The same rocking chairs he and Grandma Dorothy had sat in for 30 years. And he talked. He said he had been doing a lot of thinking since our family dinner. He said some of what we said had stung at first because he did not want to believe it. He said he had told himself we were just having a hard time accepting someone new in his life. He said he had told himself that we did not understand what it felt like to be lonely the way he had been lonely. And then he said, "But I started watching. Really watching. The way you told me to when you were little. Paying attention." He said he had noticed that Crystal was warm and attentive when she needed something, or when they were around other people. But in private, when it was just the 2 of them and there was nothing to perform, she was different. Distracted. Sometimes irritated by small things. Sometimes dismissive in ways that were hard to put into words, but that he felt. He said he had found a text on her phone. He had not been snooping. It had come up while he was trying to help her with something. A text to a friend that said, "Still working on the old man. Probably another few months." He stopped rocking when he said that. He just looked out at the yard, Dorothy's garden that he had kept up all by himself since she passed. Every flower she had planted still blooming. He said, "Dorothy never made me feel like a project. Papa Roy handled it the way he handles everything, quietly and with dignity." He spoke to Crystal directly. He told her what he had seen and what he had found and how he felt. He did not yell. He did not make accusations he could not back up. He simply told her the truth, that he did not believe she was there for the right reasons and that he needed her to leave. Crystal did not go quietly at first. She cried. She said we had turned him against her. She said she loved him, and nobody in his family had ever given her a fair chance. Papa Roy listened to all of it. He is a fair man. He always has been. And then he said, "Crystal, I am 67 years old. I have been reading people my whole life, and my family did not turn me against you. You did that yourself. I just finally stopped making excuses for what I was seeing." She moved out within the week. There was a brief back and forth with attorneys about some money he had given her, loans that she now claimed were gifts. Papa Roy decided that the amount involved was not worth a prolonged legal battle at his age and his stage of life. He let it go. He said, "Dorothy always told me that peace is worth more than being right." I think she was correct. I want to wrap this up by talking about Papa Roy today, because this story deserves a good ending. And it has one. Papa Roy is doing well. He is back to his Sunday morning phone calls, every week without fail. He is back at family dinners. Uncle Gerald stops by on Tuesdays and the door is always open. He went back to his woodworking. He made me a little jewelry box for my birthday this year, carved my initials into the top. I cried when he gave it to me. He still tends Dorothy's garden, every single flower. He told me recently that he thinks loneliness made him see what he wanted to see in Crystal. That grief does something to a person, makes them vulnerable in ways they don't fully realize until later. He was not ashamed of that. He said it plainly and honestly the way he does everything. He also said, "I am glad my family did not give up on me even when I was pushing back. That matters more than y'all know." I think about that a lot. Because here is what I want to say to anyone watching this today who might have someone in their life in a similar situation. Do not give up on them. Keep the door open. Keep showing up. Keep saying the true thing with love, even when they are not ready to hear it yet. People who have spent their whole lives loving well and showing up for others deserve to have someone show up for them when they need it most. Papa Roy showed up for everyone his whole life. It was our turn to show up for him, and we did. Thank you so much for watching today. If this story touched you, if you have a Papa Roy in your life, or if you are someone's Papa Roy, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Share this with someone who needs it. And please, take good care of yourselves and the people you love. I will see you in the next one.